Department of Revenue with that line issue.
And do we have a figure on the meals tax as to what our?
Yeah, the potential, revenues for this year is about the annualized, revenue to the town is about $100,000. If it were to be adopted at the October town meeting, we could expect a 6-month revenue of approximately $50,000, which would be money that we could utilize for this fiscal year budget.
We could?
Yes.
And how would that have to be done? Through October, through action at April?
We'd have
Or
October
April?
town meeting.
Once you collect it?
Yep. What we would do is we would build it in as a local revenue source so that when we set the tax rate in November, we'd identify what that amount is. The Department of Revenue has actually already given us an estimate, and what they've said is that we're not authorized to exceed that estimate, so it is their number that we would be using, not a number that we've developed on our own.
And the number that they're using, the formula that they're using, it was originally 2007 figures?
Right, and they've taken it down considerably,
Okay.
because when I looked at it and I discounted it based upon what I thought was an appropriate level of activity, I came up with a number that was about $22,000 to $25,000 higher than what DOR came up with, so they've taken them down. No doubt it's conservative.
But
Number 7, noise bylaw. The town clerk has provided me with samples of.
Excuse me, can we go back to this just for a second? In terms of timing, would we schedule a public hearing on this prior to taking it to town meeting?
If you put it on the warrant, we'll be required to hold a warrant article hearing on it,
Okay, so that would come here. All right, thank you.
but there is no legal requirement that you actually do hold. Number 7 is just a follow-up on the matter of noise bylaws. The town clerk has gone forward and checked with other communities. She did have a request, and we have noise bylaws and ordinances from 4 communities. That's the 2 largest, which are Boston and Cambridge. Some of them are quite lengthy. I don't have, just received it today, so I didn't have a chance to copy it. But if you are interested, I would be happy to have photocopies delivered to your mailbox, and you can review those and consider whether you wish to have those as actions at a future town meeting date.
Yeah, I'd like to see them.
Copy, sir?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Turn over your sheet.
Are these in electronic form?
No.
Generally, some much paper.
this is on the noise bylaw thing. Can I just, in relation to the noise bylaw thing, I've gotten an awful lot of favorable feedback in relation to just the discussion about initiating some sort of noise bylaw specifically in relation to motorcycles since our last meeting. I think probably more feedback on that than I've had in a number of years in relation to people that have been adversely impacted as we speak.
I think it's everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Adversely impacted by, you know, some inconsiderate neighbors and people.
That goes with some automobiles too.
It does, but it just seems to be highlighted in the summer months when people's windows are open, motorcycles are out, and I've been stopped at the supermarket, the post office, the bank, emails, telephone calls, and I was walking down the street and someone stopped and said, "I've been meaning to call you." So it's, I think we've struck a nerve. I think there's going to be a substantial amount of support, and I understand there's going to be some pushback too from people in relation to, you know, people that own motorcycles in particular, who are concerned about imposing some sort of restriction on them.
Well,
But
this noise bylaw that you're proposing is for noise from motor vehicles, right, not specific motorcycles.
sure. Sure. The other thing is that I read with interest, it was in the Salem News this week, and I'll forward it to the town administrator. There are, I think, 3 communities on the North Shore, with Salem, Peabody, and Danvers, who the police departments of those communities are acting in concert to have a testing area for people with motorcycles in particular, to come in and check the decibel levels, just as an awareness program for people. And I don't know if they're moving forward in the same direction that we're talking about here, but just to raise the owner's awareness of how loud things are and how they would be potentially in violation. They may be in violation now, there will be no citations issued, but just as an awareness program in concert with area communities, and I think that's not a bad thing to do either. You know, I think it's gonna be an educational process for a lot of the vehicle owners. We know what we find offensive, as it's happening to us, but, you know, and I also understand from a safety standpoint that there's a need for some motorcycles to have decibel levels elevated so that they can be heard, because they can't be seen. So there is a safety issue there. And I think we should be able to strike some sort of a compromise here, where people's quality of life is not necessarily gonna be imposed upon, and allow these vehicle owners to peacefully cohabitate in the neighborhood.
I would assume that the bylaws, because I haven't seen them yet, Greg, you know, they'll probably have some decibel level, and that's what it would be set at. Do you happen to know, Greg, if those are only for motor vehicles, or are these noise bylaws for everything, or aren't you sure? They're probably for everything, not just motor vehicles.
I had a chance to look at the one from Boston because it was probably the most abbreviated in the brief, and that one was specific to vehicles and motorcycles.
Oh, it was specific, okay.
And it actually defined a, certain muffler specifications in conformance with EPA standards.
Right, right.
I think that's what got it.
Of course, the hard part, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to doing this, but I mean, the hard part is gonna be the enforcement. Right. In other words, like that motorcycle just went by, he's gone, you know? That's gonna be the hard part of it. But certainly willing to look at it.
Not only enforcement in terms of the quickness in which the vehicle can move, but in terms of whether it's by citation, if then gets appealed to the court. I mean, there's gonna have to be some device that the police department has to purchase in order to measure
The
the
decibel level meter, yeah.
We're gonna have our motorcycle chase their motorcycle.
Yeah, but you're still gonna need the meter, you're gonna need the meter to read it. That's what you're
Right,
gonna need.
it's,
I've seen
Not
this.
the easiest thing to do.
No, it's difficult.
No, but
that's
what-
gonna be the
what-
difficult aspect of
You
it.
know, typically, I think in the neighborhoods, it's somebody in the neighborhood coming in and out, meaning
At
it's a
2 o'clock in
resident.
the morning. In our neighborhood.
Straighten that neighbor out? A couple things.
We're working on it.
Didn't we pass, or did it fail? I don't recall, a bunch of years ago, with the moped noise, it was in town, yeah,
The noise was.
I'm talking about maybe the scooters.
Jet skis.
In a couple, maybe about 4 years ago, in town meeting.
Talking about the motorized
October-
scooters.
I'm sorry?
The motorized scooters.
The motorized scooters, yes.
It wasn't a noise
That
issue, that
failed.
was the operation.
It was the operation, and that
Okay.
failed.
Well,
Well, then
I think the
noise
police
is
said that they didn't want to, they couldn't enforce it because they couldn't monitor the noise level and so on. But, the other issue is, and I did speak with Joe about this a little bit, and I understand one of the other selectmen might have gotten a call about this with regards to noise by trailers or by trucks on, Haverhill Street. I'm in the transportation business, and the complaint that I received was that the safety and noise were the two concerns that was brought up. And the issue of jake braking came into play, and I'm in the transportation business, so I went out and spoke to people I know in the industry about jake braking, and that makes an awful lot of noise when you apply a jake brake, which is simply a braking mechanism in an engine of a semi-trailer. All right, so when they come to the corner, if they hit that, all of a sudden you're gonna hear, you know, and then it'll stop, okay? And that can be very loud. I'm sorry? No, I mean, it's extremely loud. It's extremely loud. And, that noise, at 2 o'clock in the morning is extremely loud. So I don't know if you were considering just noise in general by motorized vehicles of any size, make, or model.
I was specifically addressing pretty much the motorcycle issue. That's where I was coming from. You want to expand it into something else more, that's fine too, but to me, this is a seasonal thing that on everybody's mind right now.
In a
Well, I think if we could be a little bit inclusive of the community, which in your case it's the motorcycle, somebody else's case it's the trucks, if there's a way that we can address the entire issue.
I think the issue is if a loud motorcycle drives by and it's gone, right, the noise is gone, it's like a dog barking and it barks and it stops, and you don't hear it anymore. But if you've got motorcycles constantly coming into a residence, right, maybe they're having, their friends over and everyone's on a motorcycle, and they make a lot of noise and it's every single evening, right, that's different. So, to me, yeah, there should be some noise limits, but above and beyond that, it's got to do with, I don't care about a motorcycle going down 62 and it's gone. It may not be another one for another day. But if the next door neighbor constantly rides his noisy motorcycle down the street on his way home, that's a different story. And I think Steve's concern is that it sounds like he's got someone up in his neighborhood that
Oh, it's not just my neighbor. Again, I was amazed at the response that I received. People were watching and reading the transcript. Just a little article about muffling the noise on the motorcycles. It's a problem throughout the community, and it isn't. I mean, obviously there's a problem with someone driving through the community, but there's a problem in the community with some of our neighbors are not very considerate, and the bigger the boy, the bigger the toy, and they need to curb it. They need to be more considerate, and apparently we need some sort of local legislation to handle it. So let's put it in there.
The next step is to look over what other communities have done and cherry pick what might be a proposed bylaw.
Yeah, I'd like to have something for October if we could.
Or is somebody, are you volunteering to do that, or is this
I'll be
something
more than
you're
happy to
actively
cull through whatever the town clerk and town
Provide.
administrator has come up with, and hopefully they'll continue to search some more. But I'd like to address what Jeff was talking about in relation to the trucks. I really think we need to take a look at some of the neighborhoods as far as, and Joe, you know more about this than I, from your prior professional life, in relation to weight restrictions and time restrictions on truck passages through the neighborhood. And I got a similar phone call, from the same person that Jeff did. And I apologize to him because I got a call from another neighbor about a year or so ago, 2 years ago, on the same issue in the same neighborhood, and I thought it was being followed up a little bit more, and I dropped the ball as far as keeping the pressure on whether it be the administration and the police department to come up with some sort of proposal. But there are certain areas in town that are heavily traveled, which really shouldn't be heavily traveled by large trucks, and if there's some way that we can restrict their passage or the hours of operation that they can pass on those roads, we should really consider doing that. This gentleman that called me had talked to the postal facility in relation to their trucks passing through his neighborhood, and he was just told that it would cost them an extra $6 per day, per trip, to stay on the, Route 62, Route 28, 62, as opposed to cutting through, Chestnut Street, New Street, in that area, taking the shortcuts. And we know that that particular stretch of road on Chestnut Street, New Street, Havel Street, is heavily traveled by contractors, particularly this time of year, coming from Benevento's pit area where the sand pits and picking up the gravel and everything else, and anything traveling that way and heading down towards the North Shore area is going right down that neighborhood through that area. It certainly is a cost imposed in the town as far as our infrastructure and the repairs of the street and how often we're going to have to do that. And I think we really should consider it and keep these contractors and these major trucking companies to the major roads.